All right, welcome everybody to the May Franklin Municipal Planning Commission meeting. I feel like I've got echo here. Hope everybody's well. We'll get the meeting started with our minutes from the April meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did anybody else hear a purse drop? All right, let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, if there's items that are not on tonight's agenda that you'd like for the commission to consider, please come forward. Actually, I'm sorry, this is just comments from citizens.
Yes, my name is Greg Gamble, and at the last month's Planning Commission meeting, I represented the Refuge Center in their request. Excuse me. One of the residents who live nearby made a statement that there are deed restrictions a part of this property. And I'm here tonight to clarify on record there are 4 deed restrictions that were included with the recording of the deed for this lot. And those are that you cannot build a residential home on the property less than 1,800 square feet. You cannot have a mobile home. You cannot raise chickens on the property, and you cannot leave junk, debris on the property. Those are recorded as a part of the deed, and we have reviewed with with the city of Franklin, with our attorneys, that there doesn't appear to be anything that would stop or prohibit the proceeding of the annexation of the property or the rezoning of the property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, staff, any announcements?
Yes. I just wanted to remind everyone, you should have received an email earlier last week that the zoning ordinance draft is available online now. It was released last Tuesday evening, and we will have paper copies for you coming out as soon as we have them ready, and I expect it to be next week, but we'll be contacting you as soon as they're ready. I apologize for the inconvenience and having a little delay, but it takes a while to get that many copies printed. So I apologize, but we'll have them to you soon.
Okay, thank you. All right, there are items that are considered non-controversial. I'm sorry, I'm totally off schedule here. Are there anybody, is there anybody in the audience that wants to place an item on the agenda that's not currently on tonight's agenda? If you will come forward. All right, see none, then we'll move to what I was about to say. There are frequently items that are considered non-controversial that we'll vote on as a consent agenda, all in one vote. Tonight, these items are 2 through 24 and 26 through 30. So if anyone in the audience, staff, or commission want to pull an item from consent, please let me know. If not, we'll vote on those. All right, I see none, then do I have a motion?
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, then we'll move on to item number 25, our only agenda item for the night. That is consideration of resolution 2019-37, a resolution approving a revised development plan for Carruthers Crossing West PUD subdivision with one modification of standards. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The original development plan for Carruthers Crossing West was approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen at the October 9th, 2018 meeting. The original entitlements are not being modified with this revision request. The development plan's revision's sole purpose is to request a modification of standards to reduce the tree canopy requirements outlined in the zoning ordinance. As such, I'm going to jump right into the modification of standards request. The City of Franklin zoning ordinance, table 5.2, specifies that the tree canopy retention standards for this development requires preserving 15% of the existing tree canopy cover on the site. That equates to 2.35 acres of site that should be retained in existing tree canopy. Now, due to some unique conditions presented by the applicant to staff already attempted to work with the development and exhausted all administrative tools available to reduce the tree canopy standards on this site with the last development plan. There is a condition of approval on the approved development plan allowing the tree canopy preservation to be reduced to 7.5% of the site, or 1.1 acres of tree canopy retention. And for the remainder of the site, they would do a payment to the tree bank at site plan stage. The applicant is now requesting that in lieu of a required tree canopy and tree bank payment, they instead provide 1.64 acres of a combination of tree canopy and tree reforestation. Their proposal would preserve only 0.31 acres of existing tree canopy and would provide reforestation for 1.23 acres of the site. That's a lot of numbers so far. Are you following along? Maybe? Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. Staff recommends disapproval of this request because it does not meet the purpose of tree protection, as outlined in the zoning ordinance, nor does it support one of the guiding principles in Envision Franklin. The core purpose of tree protection in the zoning ordinance, as stated in section 5.2.1, are to retain and protect portions of the existing tree canopy cover and other significant trees in order to 1, prevent clear cutting, 2, protect existing tree canopy on developing sites, 3, maintain a minimum level of tree canopy cover on developed sites larger than 1 acre, 4, preserve specimen trees, and 5, maintain and enhance the quality of life in the city. One of the 8 themes adopted in Envision Franklin is natural beauty. This guiding principle states that established forested areas, existing tree canopies, specimen trees, and riparian buffers help to absorb air pollution, reduce glare, heat, and noise, and enhance the quality of life through health and recreational benefits. These resources should be preserved through careful site design. Clear cutting is discouraged. The form and function of this development plan have met the intent of Envision Franklin in many aspects by providing activated streetscape along the internal street network and by placing higher intensity uses in the I-65 corridor. However, this development plan, both originally and with this revision, could have been more thoughtfully designed to meet the city's requirements regarding natural resource protection. Consistent application of the zoning ordinance is important if tree canopy is valued by the city of Franklin. Reforestation, as proposed by the applicant, may result in better species diversity, but these trees will take years to reach their growth potential. In the interim, existing and future residents are not able to benefit from the tree canopy. Therefore, staff recommends disapproval of the MOS request and disapproval of the development plan revision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience other than the applicant that would like to speak to this? All right, then is there someone representing the applicant?
Hello, my name is Greg Gamble, representing the applicants for Carruthers Crossing West. And Amy's exactly right. Staff did work with us and has worked with us from the very beginning. I have put in front of you an 8.5 by 11 that is a reminder of some of the slides we talked about during the joint conceptual workshop. There is a current approved development plan and tree preservation strategy for the development plan that's currently approved today. Matter of fact, we have a site plan that has been designed and approved based upon this tree canopy preservation approach. The areas that are shown here in blue are those current tree preservation areas on the development plan. The most significant trees that we can save on the site are here along the northern property boundary. There are specimen trees that are along this northern property boundary. There are significant trees along this property boundary that is running north-south. For the rest of the trees, the majority are woody pioneers. And what are woody pioneers? Those are the trees that are fast-growing. They're hackberries, cedars. There are invasive species in this area, include mimosas, and those are trees that we're concerned about. Yes, we want to be responsive to and responsible with the land that we're developing in Franklin. This is an opportunity, though, for the replacement of those woody pioneers with climax forest, with oaks, hickories, tulip poplars, pines. along this northern property boundary here, we discovered through the process that our 10-foot retaining wall that's shown on the first page of your 8.5 by 11, 10-foot retaining wall was going to be mirrored by the Huffines Ridge PUD on the other side, creating an area of existing trees that sits 10 feet down below the ground in an area that would run alongside that entire northern boundary. This is an opportunity to, yes, remove those trees, but yes, reestablish on the second page, new proposed landscape buffer and replacement of hardy climax trees along this boundary. We heard from the Planning Commission and Alderman of the Joint Conceptual Workshop to not just include 2-inch trees, but consider adding 2, 3, 4-inch trees, and we've done that with our development plan resubmittal. So you'll see that reflected on those documents. In the city of Franklin, when you have a reforestation area or canopy that's been removed that needs to be replaced, there's a requirement for 80 trees per acre. That would be 160 tree inches per acre. We're committing in these areas to a total of 320 tree inches per acre to really truly establish a reforestation program and not just simply meet the code requirements. On the very last page, we're showing an illustration of those tree density, a mixture of 2, 3, 4-inch trees. These areas will be irrigated initially for establishment and potentially permanently. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. There are no other changes to the development plan other than the reforestation and tree canopy.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion from the commission?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Hold on. Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Jennifer, okay. Was that as proposed by staff for,
Yeah.
what was the motion for? I'm sorry, why don't we clarify what the motion?
Question. Say.
Is it
recommend
to approve the
Oh.
requested modification?
It would be for recommendation of approval,
Okay.
Approval or no?
or for it,
Okay.
for approval.
Approval for the requested change.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
All right, before we go on, let's address, I guess, can we address that all together, since that's just one modification? Okay, all right, then I will open for discussion.
So I need to make sure because I'm hearing two totally different things. Okay, so staff recommends disapproval of this. Planning Commission just made a motion to approve it. I just want to be sure. Okay,
Correct.
so I want to make it clear that I will be voting to disapprove this based on everything that the staff placed there, because if I'm correct, they have worked with this developer and have not been able to come to any kind of agreement. And one of the things that I hear, if I'm not correct, that there's a request to reduce the amount of acreage of reforestation from 2.3 acres down to 1.6 acres. Is that correct?
So the requirement is 2.37 acres of tree canopy preservation. The applicant is proposing 1.6 acres of a combination of existing tree canopy retention and reforested area.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Can I add to that?
You may.
On the current approved plan, we have 1.2 acres of preserved canopy. On this plan with reforestation, we have 1.33 acres of reforestation. So we're replanting more than what we're currently preserving.
Okay. One of the reasons, and I want to be clear because our attorney had said before that we need to be very clear, and I will tell you, I made a couple notes on why for that. Because when staff was talking, one of the things that was said, because a lot of times it is brought up that the way that the land lays would have sometimes prevents a developer from doing that a choice was made and said that the design could have been done differently, which kind of was one of the reasons that I said that. The other was that I think the choice, part of what was said was it would take years for, if I'm not mistaken, that it would take years for some of the choices that are made for, I guess, the plantings to mature, that would delay the I'm thinking some of the noise reduction, some of the things that Envision Franklin, the reason for tree replantings, the noise reduction, the buffering and all of that for protection of the neighborhoods, that it would take too long for that, and that it was a choice that the design could have been done differently to achieve some of the things that staff and Envision Franklin was hoping would be done when tree replantings and all of that was done. So that's my reasoning for voting no. Okay.
And that brings up a good point. I probably should get Jennifer to clarify your reason for voting yes,
Yeah,
going against
absolutely.
staff, if you don't mind.
I do have a question, as far to staff. Now, the reduction, from what I understand, that was already, approved? It was in
Yes,
a
as part of the
previous one?
original
Okay.
development plan,
Okay,
we
that's what
worked
I
with the
understood.
applicant and let them reduce the requirement by 50%, and they would have to pay that remaining 50% into a tree bank fund.
Okay.
They would do that at site plan level, though.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the reasons why I'm in favor of this is, the big thing is kind of looking short-term versus long-term. Short-term, yeah, it's gonna be smaller trees for a longer period of time. But then I look at the long-term, what we're trying to achieve with tree canopy, and that's to reduce things like urban heat island effect. And from what I understand is the quality of the trees, there's a lot of hackberries, there's a lot of honeysuckle, kind of those first trees that come out. And the species that they replace them with get a much bigger canopy. They're have a longer longevity. An example I can think of, which really when I was looking at this, I was thinking of, well, okay, what would this look long-term? And that would be McEwen, right, between Cool Springs and Mallory Lane. And they have a little planting in the median, and, first moved here 3 years ago or so, and I'm like, oh, this is nice, And then now as you go there, you start looking at that tree canopy, it's almost touching over the road. And so I look at kind of the species that they decided to plant and the bushes, and I see that long-term,
Amber alert.
yeah.
Chattanooga.
Yeah, I see that long-term as more beneficial, and I do see that in the short term, there is a big drawback, that there's gonna be noise, there's gonna be sun, but I'm thinking, very long-term, far out, that this is gonna be here for a while.
And I think it's important to state, because not that anything we do is precedent-setting, but there are, applicants will look at what we've done and make decisions on other sites with similar ideas. So I'd like to ask staff, you gave the criteria for why to save the trees, and it makes total sense. When you've got the Woody Pioneers, little ode to Toy Story, I think. At what point does that need to take some precedent or be highly considered, if you understand what I'm asking, is, if we're trying to save trees in this preservation, but if there are invasive species, I know there's other discussions in our zoning ordinance that talk about trying to replace invasive species and.
We talk about getting rid of invasives and planting natives, but we
Right.
don't talk about quality of trees other than that. So I guess in our mind, a mature tree on site has a value, and that's how the
Right.
zoning ordinance was written, that we should maintain the existing canopy versus taking that time differential to clear cut and let them regrow. So staff's taking that point of view, that the value was on the existing trees.
Because in my mind, clear cutting is clear cutting whether we like the tree or not. It's still being clear cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my question.
Go ahead, please.
The retaining walls that separate the two sites, what's the length of those? And that kind of creates a trough between the property lines to protect those specimen trees.
Say, just over 350 feet in length
And it's approximately 10 foot high,
on both sides.
creating kind of a real bunker down the line there. I mean, being on the property line, that's a nice group of trees. I didn't know if there was a compromise, from the site itself, that get rid of the invasive species versus you know, leaving those specimen trees along the property line.
I really think that both groups, both developers on both sides of the property line are a little concerned, just like on Franklin Road when the church, and I forget the name of the church, went to extensive lengths to build a retaining wall, save a specimen tree, for the specimen tree to die 3 years later, and now they have this retaining wall in a crescent shape and a pool of water down below, and it just feels odd and awkward. You know, we've had our arborist look at the trees, and they're in fair condition. To be honest with you, they're not great trees. They're farm fence trees.
Well, why
They're
couldn't
not-
you close up why couldn't you, close up, not have the two retaining walls, but have deep rings around those few specimen trees that are there, and if they die, fill it in later. And try to leave those specimen trees, but get rid of the retaining walls, but I've seen, we've buried trees at 10 a foot deep before with a segment block ring, and they live 25, 30 more years.
Well, we're really looking to this extended replacement, establishing really trees that have much longer lifespans than hackberries or cedars, and establishing those
Well,
that are
I'm
ranked.
with you on that. I
Yeah.
get rid of the hackberry and the cedars, but and go with the quality trees that are so available and abundant nowadays at these nurseries. I mean, Riverbend has got a endless supply of gorgeous specimen trees at great prices. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Right.
But some of those really, really large trees, if there's a way that you could protect some of them, you know, I'm for the motion, but I sure would like to see you get rid of the retaining walls and maybe just try to protect those specimen trees with an alternative landscape feature.
All right,
Yeah,
Scott?
I just kind of want to echo what Jimmy just said. My concern too is the trough that's going to be created with the retaining walls down the line. And I envision down the road, when these trees die off, having a stormwater trough running through the middle of this property for 350 feet. So I will support this because I remember discussing this previously before this board. And I thought at the time the consensus was that it would look better with a raised buffer with replacement of trees. So I will support it.
And you can still plant trees between specimen trees that are raised, and then that'll help, you know, continue your screen.
All right, Jennifer, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, agree with that point. As far as later down the line, it ends up more of a marshy area where you don't get that tree canopy benefit.
Okay, Ann, you had something?
I did want to say there are a lot of trees out there. I know that they're not necessarily the best trees in the world and everything, but that is really going to be a much different look if the trees are cut down. I mean, are done away with there. So I'm going to be voting. I would go along with the staff's recommendation. So I'll be voting against this.
All right, so any other comments?
Well, I hate to go against the staff either. I mean, it'd be great if we could figure out where they could support it and it would work in everybody's benefit, but whatever.
All right, so any other comments then? Then seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve of the request for modification of standard to the development plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, with the noes, please raise your hand. Okay, the ayes have it. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.